Sandra Smith, and I'm back with former AIG CEO Hank Greenberg, and we're talking trade right now. The Trans-Pacific Partnership, Hank, is on the table in Washington, and for some reason there's a real debate. The unions do not want this to be fast-tracked. What are your observations about this trade deal right now?
Well, first of all, the unions are always against trade. They believe that it cuts into their opportunities here. I don't think that's true. Time has proven that. The TPP, as far as it goes, it's all right. It does not include China. And I think that's a terrible mistake. Either we ought to have a free trade agreement negotiation with China separately, or they ought to be included. The problem right now with TPP, you have to get approval, of course, for fast track from the Congress and the President. Japan was a hang-up for a while on automobiles and on agriculture. It appears they've worked that problem out. So I don't see all the details, but trade is good. Asia is a place for the coming next decade or two. But without China, and what we've done, China believes historically that we're trying to keep them down. And we've denied that. But the president himself, in the last several days, has said that that the TPP will help offset China and not have China lead to control of Asia.
So he's acknowledging they're too powerful.
Yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
But a trade agreement with China, while it might take 10 years to negotiate, the problem we currently have, we don't trust each other. During that 10 years, we would hopefully get rid of some of that mistrust. It took China 10 years to negotiate with Australia a free trade agreement. That was concluded recently. It took us 7 years to negotiate a free trade agreement with South Korea, and that's been very helpful. But we had problems along the way, but it took us years, but we finally got that done. We need to have a relationship with China. If we don't, what are we doing? We're driving China closer to who? To Russia.
Right.
And is that in our national interest? I don't think so.
What about Russia? I mean, you see Putin continuing his pursuits throughout Ukraine, Crimea. I mean, is a NATO country next?
Well, he's seeing what our reaction has been so far.
And we're leading from behind.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Nobody wants to have an open conflict, but you have to stand up for what's right. We have a responsibility in NATO, and if there's a move on a NATO country, there's going to have to be a very serious response.
How would you characterize the dangers that this country faces right now? You are a war veteran, won the Purple Heart in World War II. You fought for your country so much. Today's dangers and risks relative to what you've seen in your life?
I think what we're seeing today is as bad as it was, almost as bad as it was before World War II. I think that it's dangerous because we have a nuclear world now. And, that's a game changer.
And we're discussing a nuclear agreement with Iran. Is that the right course?
Look, I don't see how you sit down and negotiate with Iran, where the Ayatollah and the senior generals have said the destruction of Israel is not negotiable. How do you sit down and negotiate with them?
That's unbelievable, and they say it repeatedly. Let me get back to China for a second. This was the cover story in Barron's, as I'm sure you've seen. It basically said China is the hottest stock market in the world. It's up 120% in the past year, even though the country's economic standing has slowed down. What do you think's going on in terms of the mentality of the Chinese? They're taking their money out of savings and they're putting it into the stock market. Yeah, well, they feel more comfortable than they did before. They had to save before because they didn't have any other thing to do with their money. They was concerned about their future, so they saved. And there's far more investment going on. China is redesigning its economic policies. And they're not going to grow at 8, 10, 12% a year. Would you put new money to work in China right now?
Well, we're doing that. We're looking at investments all the time.
Where are you investing right now around the world?
China is a major area.
Insurance, financial services in China?
We bought into an insurance company, which we now control, but we're investing in other areas, in pharmaceuticals, and in the healthcare area, which I think has a huge potential in China. So there's a lot going on, and we have an investment team full-time in China.
What about the rest of the world? Emerging markets have been waiting to come back for a long time.
Yeah,
it's been very slow.
It has to be very selective. Be very selective.
Hank, I would be remiss if I did not mention today is your birthday. We got you a cupcake.
Well,
happy birthday, your 90th birthday, Hank Greenberg. Yeah. Unbelievable.
I don't believe it either.
You look spectacular. You look great. You're fighting the government. Yeah. Happy birthday. Make a wish.
Thank you very much.
To what do you attribute such resiliency in your life?
Oh, many things. I think good genes. And,
I bet you it's more than just good genes, Hank.
And, you know, I love what I do, and that's important. I've got to have a very happy marriage. That's important.
You're also exercising a lot, and you've got a diet that you stick to, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about it. I mean, this is one of my favorite stories, and the reason is because we had Craig Venter on a couple of weeks ago. He mapped the genome. We're getting ahead of disease. He said in the next 10 years we're going to be living into our second century. I mean, here you are at 90 years old. Is that the way you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, I don't think of age. You know, I just keep thinking about what I'm doing.
Look back at your illustrious career. What has been what stands out to you?
Oh, so many things. I think one of the important things was meeting C.V. Starr, and it was a game changer for me.
When you first got the job at AIG?
When I first got the job at AIG is when I came back from Korea, and decided I didn't want to practice law in New York, and so I was kind of at wit's end, didn't know what I wanted to do. And I got a job purely accidentally in the Continental Casualty Company.
And then you became CEO of AIG. You drove market values to what, 250 billion?
Yeah. From dead stop. We took AIG. I took it public. It was a private company, small private company. And we built it into the largest insurance company in history. And
we've watched the rest. I won't go into every detail of what you've seen, but here you are, standing tall and involved in this lawsuit against the government. We're going to be watching the results. You'll find out in the summertime, Hank?
That's what I believe.
June, hopefully June. Hank, good to have you on the show today.
Good to see you.
Happy birthday, 90th birthday for Hank Greenberg, truly a global titan with us today.